Well, we got a minute. I'm gonna buy that truck I've been wanting.
Wait, don't you need, like, weeks to shop for a car?
I don't. Carvana makes it super convenient to find exactly what I want.
Hold up. You're buying a car on your phone? Isn't that more of a laptop thing?
You can shop wherever you want.
I like to do my research, read reviews, compare models. Plus, Carvana has thousands of options. How'd you decide on that truck?
Because I like it.
Oh, that is a great reason.
Go to Carvana.com to sell your car the convenient way.
So, Jacinda, I had the best breakfast this morning.
Oh, yeah? What was it?
It was courtesy of ButcherBox, which now typically, may not be known for breakfast foods, but their beef makes for a great beef and leafy green stew.
I don't think there's anything wrong with eating meat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And ButcherBox makes it easy. With ButcherBox, you get incredible deals on premium cuts of meat, and deals this good are hard to come by at the grocery store.
And it's all mailed straight to your door with free shipping always. And you get curated, customized box plans.
And if you're like us and you like to eat meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're in luck because ButcherBox is having a July 4th flash sale right now.
Celebrate this Independence Day by going to butcherbox.com/proof and use code PROOF60 at checkout. And enjoy your choice of bone-in chicken thighs, top sirloins, or salmon in every box for an entire year. Plus, use code PROOF60 to get an additional $20 off your first 3 orders. Again, that's butcherbox.com/proof and use code PROOF60.
And send us your pictures of your ButcherBox breakfast, because I'd like to see them.
Hi, and welcome to this special episode of Proof. We're here for an update on Season 2 and the case of Jake Silva. I'm here with Kevin and Jacinda. Hey, guys.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Now, it's been a few weeks since our season ended, but we wanted to do an update episode for everyone because there's been some updates that we think you'll want to hear about. To start off with, though, in the very last episode, in our season finale, you heard Donna Ramos and Mandy Lopes and how they'd submitted a letter together to the Manteca Police Department requesting production of their records, the police records, regarding Renee's murder. Or, if failing that, if they didn't want to produce those records, asking the Manteca Police to comply with California law and produce to Donna, as the victim's representative, all witness statements in the case. A previous request from Donna for those materials had been denied, but California law is clear that she's entitled to them, so we renewed that request as well. Now, the first part of the request in the letter from Donna and Mandy to review all of the files was denied. 2 days after receiving the letter from Donna and Mandy, Manteca Police Chief Stephen Schleuer sent the following, addressed only to Donna. Here's Kevin reading an excerpt from that letter.
The City of Manteca Police Department received your emailed letter requesting that we re-examine the matter regarding the tragic loss of your daughter, Renee Ramos. Following a comprehensive re-examination of the case by the Manteca Police Department Investigations Unit Sergeant and consultations with the San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office, along with the original detective assigned to the case, Tony Souza, who is currently an investigator for the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office Bureau of Investigations. We have every confidence in the accuracy of our investigation and the prosecution of the individuals implicated in this matter. Our diligent efforts have led to the rightful conviction of those responsible for Renee's untimely death. Though we are absolutely sympathetic to your concerns, it is imperative to emphasize that our commitment lies in adhering to the factual evidence rather than conjecture or speculation alone. As law enforcement professionals, our duty is to uphold the integrity of the judicial and criminal process by basing our actions on verifiable facts.
So, yeah, basically in 2 days, the Manteca Police Department did a comprehensive reexamination of the case, which apparently consisted of consulting with Detective Tony Souza and then concluding that they have no doubts they did everything correctly in this case.
I mean,
Jacinda.
I was going to say, it took us how many years and months to fully reinvestigate this case, and they were able to do it in 2 days. So,
And they're very confident that everything was on the up and up. That's apparently the position they're taking now. And of course, it's the victim's mother, so they're being sympathetic. But to me, the tone is like, don't listen to the lies you're being fed. Of course we did everything right. We believe in truth and accuracy, and you're being fed bullshit by someone with an agenda.
One of the things that stood out to me, I remember the sort of disappointment I had when you all first showed me the letter when it first came in, is that, this is the victim's mother who has had a change of heart through the process of this season of the show. I think it's very powerful when you get the sort of loved one of the victim in a murder case to start saying, I don't think that the people who were convicted of this crime are actually guilty. And the fact that she's, sort of joined forces with Mandy, with Ty's daughter, trying to get answers is it's emotionally moving, but it's a powerful statement to police. Like, we think something went wrong here. It takes a lot to get a family member to say there's something wrong with this murder conviction. So I think that was disappointing to me.
And even if you felt confident in your case, you'd think if you got a letter like that, you'd at least step back and say, I want to understand why she feels that way. Like, something must made her think this. So like, we need to at least have a vague grasp of why there might be problems in this case, even if we don't ultimately agree.
Right. Like saying we stand by our investigation and we think it concluded in the right way, but we'd like to talk to you and find out what you're thinking and why. I mean, they couldn't even have listened to the podcasts in that amount of time, right? So what did they reinvestigate, or they don't even know what the problems are?
They called Sousa and he said, oh, it was all good. And that was it. That's my guess anyway. Now, interestingly, Tony Sousa, the detective who investigated this case, is now working at the DA's office over in Stanislaus County to the south. So, he's at the agency that has all the files on Jared Conway that we were denied access to as well.
It's, I understand the police perspective in the sense that, they must get letters all the time and people saying that, my family member was wrongfully convicted. The fact that it's the victim's family, I think, stands out. But, it'd be nice if one of the people sort of involved in the case could just take an honest look at it. I don't think that we go knocking on everyone's door, right? There are a lot of cases that people submit to us and a lot of cases that two of you sort of vet, and then we talk about them. And, if after all that investigation, they don't want to take a look at it, that's disappointing, because there's certainly some questions there at the very least.
So that was the response from the police department to the request from both Mandy and Donna to review all the files, given that the case, is long over. However, the Manteca Police Department did agree to give Donna the documents that they were required to produce under California law. So they recently completed that production and handed over several hundred pages of documents, which is fantastic. And we're still going through those materials now. And there is some interesting new information in there that we plan to follow up on. Unfortunately, most of the new documents, the ones we've never seen before, were redacted, apparently because they did not include witness statements. So we do know for sure now there are at least a couple dozen police reports that we've never seen, but we still don't know exactly what they're about. So we'll be looking at that further. There's one thing in those files, though, that we did want to highlight now, and that's the records that MPD gave Donna Ramos include inventory sheets showing chain of custody logs for various pieces of evidence in the case, including chain of custody logs for Renee's clothing, like her jeans, shirt, bra, underwear. These are items that in 2017, when Jake's attorney requested testing of those items, the Manteca Police Department responded that they were lost, couldn't find them, can't be tested. And the chain of custody logs show that the police department did, in fact, lose track of these items. Their inventory records were wrong and said that these items were in possession of Manteca Police, which wasn't accurate. We found them in the courthouse. That's where they were. So for those items, Manteca Police is right that they lost the items, lost track of them with their own records. But there were also inventory records for Renee's necklaces, 3 hemp necklaces she was wearing when she died, as well as some of the hairs at the crime scene. And the chain of custody logs for those items record that they were being held at the courthouse, which is right. That's exactly where they were. The necklaces and the hairs were never actually lost because Manteca Police's own inventory records told them exactly where they were all along. But for some reason, they told Jake's attorney in 2017 that those items were gone too and couldn't be found. Finding that was frustrating, especially because when I saw it, it was kind of a gut punch for me for Jake, knowing that they could have been tested 7 years ago. Those necklaces could have been, their location was known, they were findable. It's right there in black and white. They could have been tested 7 years ago and we could have had an answer back then. But Manteca Police Department instead thought they were missing. I guess they never checked their own records.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. The custody lodge says clearly that those items are at the courthouse and they could have been tested, which is true because we found them there, and they could have been tested 7 years ago. That's 7 years he's been sitting in prison waiting for testing on these, and it could have been done all along. Susan, can you just to help clarify things? I think it's a little bit confusing about how the records request was denied, but yet they gave Donna some material. So what's the difference between what was denied and what they turned over?
So even before the season started, Donna Ramus signed a letter requesting, under California law, as the victim's representative, as Renee's representative, production of documents that are not available to the general public, not available to defendants even, under records requests. Like, they're not available under California's record request law, except for victims and representatives who are entitled to them. At the time, the Manteca Police Department denied the request. And in the letter that Mandy and Donna sent, Donna renewed that request and pointed out the exact parts of California law that mandated production of them. At that point, the Manteca Police did comply and produced the witness statements and witness names that was in their computer file. Now, they didn't produce things like, the surveillance tapes, which is, the holy grail for me in this case, because those are not witness statements. So we still don't even know if those exist, although chain of custody logs suggest they do. But in terms of like written statements that are on their, at least the ones on their online file, or at least on their computer records, they did hand those over. Most of which we already had from discovery from the defense way back then, but not all of them.
Right, so some new material, but again, not everything.
Yeah. And the most interesting part was seeing all the pages that were redacted, which presumably were lawfully redacted. If they weren't witness statements, then California law did not mandate disclosure to Donna. But we can tell from the header and the information of when those reports were filed, they aren't ones in the defense file. So there's at least maybe a dozen or two reports there that I'm very curious about what they would contain.
A dozen or two reports that, from what we know, were not given to the defense.
Yeah, and the bulk of those actually appear to have been after the arrest of Jake and Ray and Ty.
Mm.
So they might just be like internal reports from Susan Wells, or things to do with like evidence testing. It's not clear, but obviously I'm curious.
There could be another Brady violation in some of those documents.
Yeah.
You never know. But again, under California law, they also have the right to turn over everything. There's nothing preventing them from turning it over. They just don't have to. Is that correct?
Correct.
Hey, Susan, I heard you're not feeling well, and I was thinking, how lucky is it that we just both signed up for HelloFresh?
Thank God, because I can barely hold it together right now. Without HelloFresh, I don't know what we'd be doing. Because apparently, even when you're sick, the kids still got to eat.
That's right. There's no stopping meal prep. But HelloFresh makes it easy. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
And even better, HelloFresh's line of kid-friendly recipes are picky eater proof and perfect for families with toddlers who are extremely mercurial in what they'll actually eat. HelloFresh keeps you going even when you're down.
It's not just great when you have toddlers, it's great when you have teenagers too, because my kids can open a box and cook dinner for us.
HelloFresh at least makes mealtime easy when everything else is going wrong.
So go to HelloFresh.com/proofapps for free appetizers for life. That's one appetizer item per box while your subscription is active. That's free appetizers for life at HelloFresh.com/proofapps. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. We've also got another update for you. As you heard in the last episode, Jake was trying to find an attorney to represent him and seek DNA testing of that newfound evidence at the courthouse. After the last episode aired, we had dozens of lawyers, actually from around the country, write in, and we wanted to thank everyone for the overwhelming show of support.
The good news is that Jake Silva is now represented by counsel. and we spoke to them about where things stand in his case now.
My name is Audrey McGinn. I'm a senior staff attorney at an organization called the Innocence Center, and I am lead counsel currently for Jake Silva.
And I'm Lauryn Barbosa Findley. I am a staff attorney at the Northern California Innocence Project, and we're happy to be looking into Jake's case.
So after we finished our season, both the Innocence Center and the Northern California Innocence Project ended up taking on Jake's case, and they now represent him for upcoming, fingers crossed, court proceedings. Guys, what's the future look like there for Jake?
2 weeks ago, we filed a request for renewed order for post-conviction DNA testing. As you guys mentioned in the podcast, there were some items of evidence that were allegedly lost, but now found. So we are asking the court to send those to the lab and do the testing. So we are hoping to get some really great results on the hemp necklaces that you found in the exhibits room, some of her clothing, and maybe even the hairs that were found near her body.
And have you heard back at all from the DA's office?
Not yet. We have not heard anything yet. We just filed the motion. It was delivered to their office, so I'm assuming that they are trying to figure out what to do with us now.
And it mostly parallels the previous motion that was filed and not opposed. So, I mean, we're hopeful, at least. I don't know how y'all feel, that there won't be any opposition this time around.
That was exactly our thought and exactly what I put in the motion, that this was unopposed previously. This testing was ordered on these specific items. Previously, the only reason why they weren't tested is because they couldn't be located. Now that they've been located, let's just continue with what was previously ordered. So we're hoping for very little kind of roadblocks from the district attorney's office or from the court. Of course, anything can happen, but we're just requesting for what was previously ordered to continue.
And Lauryn, do you guys have a guess on like the timeline there? How long do you think this will take for the court to actually order testing?
I think it's kind of hard to say always how long the court will take to do anything. And it's a little bit of a fool's errand, especially with the way that the courts can always extend their own time or anything like that. But like you said, we are hopeful that there aren't too many roadblocks, that this will not take forever to get the court to agree to something that was already agreed to previously.
And I know Jake is ecstatic that things are moving along. Audrey, we were just talking about how many exclamation points were in Jake's email to the news that the filing had been made.
He was just ecstatic, and I was just thrilled to tell him that we, are moving right along with the case, and that Lauryn and I are, our organizations have worked together so seamlessly in the past to help people. We're really excited to be working with them, and, doing this together to help him. He's just, I think, really thrilled.
Yes, and NCIP is always very excited to partner with the folks down at TIC, and we've started really combing through all of the records that we have, and it's a lot that we have to work with. So, yeah. And there's a lot that you've uncovered. Yes, and there's a lot that you've uncovered in the podcast also. So really just covering all of the bases has been what we're focused on.
Well, I am thrilled that Jake now has counsel and that you guys are now on the case. I'm aware that courts can move at court speed, and there's no way. But I am optimistic a little. I'll maintain optimism until otherwise, that things can move along, because there shouldn't be a reason for delay here. There shouldn't be any reason for more than the usual court meandering.
Totally. And there's no official deadline to when the courts have to respond. But my plan is, after 60 days, if we still don't hear anything, to just request an audience with the court to see where they are in the process, and just kind of keep insisting that we aren't going anywhere and that we really need this evidence to be tested. It's high time. It should have been done 8 years ago. It's just bonkers to me that it was in the courthouse and nobody even thought to look there.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the new documents we recently received showed that for at least the hairs and the hip necklaces, it doesn't seem as if they were ever missing at all.
Wild. I mean, I know previous counsel compelled, we're not allowed to go into the courthouse and just demand to see stuff without reason, or to go looking for stuff ourselves. Obviously, we want to avoid any contamination for any cases, not just our own. And then previous counsel asked them to look, and then I don't know what happened.
well, whatever it was, they're found now. They're there for testing. And I mean, DNA is always a crapshoot, but like, if you had to choose evidence that is, in good shape, this would be it. Like, this is, when we saw it, we knew, like, this is what you hope for.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they were preserved adequately, and we have a really good shot of getting some results from these items, and really, really excited about it. I mean, we're so thankful for the work that you did, and kind of teeing this up for us to be able to litigate it so quickly. It's really exciting.
Do you all usually file motions and cases that quick after taking them on?
No. Not at all.
No.
I mean, Lauryn and I have been doing this for a long time, and it just sometimes takes years to be able to even get appellate documents. I mean, these things now, that after somebody is convicted, nobody has any sense of urgency at all, because there are no constitutional guarantees to like a speedy anything after somebody is convicted. And so people kind of move at a snail's pace. And you guys really just, I mean, again, like just teed this up perfectly for us to be able to like immediately, file something on Jake's behalf and try to get this ball rolling again for him.
Well, I wish we had a more
Absolutely.
precise timeline for listeners, but we will be here every step of the way. And I don't think it's unreasonable that we could have significant action by the end of the year.
Well, getting the court to move along to get the DNA to the lab is one thing, and then labs.
Yeah, that's a whole new thing. But
that's a whole different ballgame on how fast we can get the lab to actually do the testing. I mean, expedited testing, I think, even if we do that, is at 6 months. But Bodie does good work. We've had good results with them in the past, and that's where we're hoping the evidence will be sent. And we had an exoneration with them last year, and so hopefully that will all kind of cue it up to have some credibility to speed things along.
We also just want to give a huge shout out to the listeners and really say thank you for how engaged they've been and how much they've cared about Jake and Jake's case, and for all of the information that they've been willing to pass on to the Proof podcast team. We also wanted to just continue to extend that offer. If you have any information, no matter if you think it's small or anything that you think could possibly help or lead us down a fruitful path for Jake, we would love to hear any of that. You can still extend that information to the Proof podcast team, or you can reach out to us directly if you want to email us. My email is Lauryn, Lauryn, .Barbosa, Findley, Barbosa, Findley @scu.edu. And Audrey will drop her email also in case you would like to reach out.
Yeah, I work at the Innocence Center, and my email is Audrey, Audrey, at THEINNOCENCE center.org. And we would love to hear from you if you have any additional information, people who you think we should speak to. We really are excited about this case and ready to do everything we can to get to the truth.
well, for now, that's all. But things are moving in the case. And as you heard, we can't say when exactly, but, as these things go in the nearest future, we'll hopefully have more updates for you. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with more updates as they happen. Thanks for joining us, guys. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan.
As you heard, it's hard to predict timelines when it comes to these kinds of proceedings, but we have reason to hope that DNA testing will be done sooner rather than later, and we'll be back to keep you updated on all the progress in the case. Also, as you heard Jake's attorneys mention, the investigation isn't over. So if you have any information about this case, no matter how small you think it may be, please give us a call or send us an email. As you heard on the show, many of the most important tips we got came from people who didn't think what they knew was that important at all.
Our investigation continues. Jake's attorneys will continue their work, and we'll be back when there's more to share.
I think all you can ask for when you take on one of these wrongful conviction cases, right, is that you have more hope at the end of it, at the end of the investigation, than at the beginning. And it feels like for the first time in a long time, maybe there's some hope for Jake.
There's a lot of hope. I mean, shoot, if I could get very good DNA evidence for testing in every case I work on. That I'd like that. So Jake's doing better than a lot of cases I've worked on, and I'm really hopeful for him.
Yeah, it's closer to hopefully being out than he was the day that this season started, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also for any listeners out there in San Joaquin County, the case is now being reopened. It's been filed to retest the evidence. These are your officials that are handling it. And if you want to reach out to them and ask them to take this seriously and ask them to do their diligence in reinvestigating, please go ahead and do so, because this is not going away and they need to know that people know what happened here and they care.
And if you're sitting on some information that you've had for 20 plus years now, and for whatever reason you couldn't come forward, or you were scared to come forward, or there were lots of reasons you couldn't, now is another chance to rewrite this story, to let the truth come out. So please don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah. So that's all for now. And we'll be back later, hopefully with good news for Jake.
You've been listening to Proof, Sidebar, a podcast by Red Marble Media in association with Glassbox Media. Send us your questions and comments at proofcrimepod@gmail.com. Follow us everywhere with the handle @proofcrimepod and on our website, proofcrimepod.com. Thanks so much for listening.